The movie begins at the racetrack where we see Lightning McQueen preparing to compete in the Piston Cup. He speeds across the track, overtaking Cal Weathers, and takes first place, cheered on by his hometown fans. Although Cal tries to catch up, McQueen manages to cross the finish line and wins the race. We then discover that Cal and McQueen are close friends who constantly play pranks on each other, and their fun rivalry continues for a long time. Sometimes Cal wins, and other times McQueen takes the victory. In one particular race, McQueen is in first place and Cal in second. But just before the finish line, a new racer named Jackson Storm appears. He speeds past them both with ease and takes the win. After the race, McQueen goes to congratulate him, but Storm arrogantly tells him that McQueen was his idol only in the past, then walks away. Next, we see Chick Hicks, who became a commentator after retiring from racing. He is thrilled about McQueen's loss and invites a racing expert to explain Storm's power and skill, pointing out that he belongs to the next generation of race cars, built with advanced technology, unlike the older models. Back at the track, we learn that 6 next-generation racers are competing in the Piston Cup. The race begins, and the cars take off at full speed. McQueen tries to overtake Storm but fails, as Storm's incredible speed allows him to easily stay ahead and claim victory. Days and races pass, and Storm continues to win because he trains on advanced simulators, while McQueen still sticks to practicing on dirt tracks as he always has. McQueen's frustration grows when he discovers that his friend Cal Weathers has decided to retire after Dinoco signed a new next-generation racer. Cal tells him that his time is over, thanks him for all the memories they shared, and leaves. McQueen feels even more disheartened when he realizes that all the veteran racers have retired, leaving him as the last of the old generation still competing. The final race begins, consisting of 500 laps, and the winner will take home the Piston Cup. Lightning McQueen races with incredible speed and skill, just like in the old days, overtaking several cars. Both Storm and McQueen head to the pit stop to change their tires. McQueen returns to the track with great speed, passing Storm and reclaiming first place. However, Storm easily closes the gap and tells McQueen that it's better for him to retire, then speeds ahead. Frustrated, McQueen pushes himself to go as fast as possible to catch up with the racers who passed him, but his tires can't handle the strain. He loses control, crashes into the wall, and flies off the track in a devastating accident, similar to what had once happened to an older racer. Days pass, and 4 months after the crash, we return to Radiator Springs. We see McQueen repaired and restored, though still shaken, watching television footage of Doc Hudson's old crash, the one that forced him into retirement. At that moment, Sally comes to check on McQueen, offering encouragement. She urges him to train harder, but with new and modern methods, so he can return to racing like before. McQueen refuses at first, admitting that he's afraid of failing. Sally reassures him, telling him not to fear failure, because failure is what teaches us the most about success. She reminds him that he still has a second chance to prove his speed and skill to the world. Inspired, McQueen decides to return to racing, determined to train harder so he can one day beat Storm. He thanks the townsfolk of Radiator Springs for always supporting him and never giving up on him. They're all thrilled when they hear he's planning a comeback. McQueen then calls the Rusty's owners, telling them he needs to train with modern technology if he's going to have a chance. They ask him to meet them the next morning, promising a surprise. Excited, McQueen gets his original red paint job restored, boards his trailer with his team, and sets off. Sally, Mater, and the townsfolk bid him farewell as Mac drives him to the Rusty's training center. When they arrive, McQueen steps out of the trailer, amazed to see a giant statue of his number on display. He meets the Rusty's owners, who explain that they've sold the company to a wealthy businessman because they couldn't provide him with the advanced technology he needs. Soon after, Sterling, the new owner, arrives. He warmly welcomes McQueen, telling him he's one of his biggest fans. McQueen thanks the former Rusty's owners for everything they've done for him, and they leave. As McQueen explores the facility, he's astonished by all the posters and memorabilia of his career covering the walls. Sterling then takes him to get updated and introduces him to the high-tech training center where the next-generation racers train. There, McQueen is impressed by the state-of-the-art simulator. It's also where he meets Cruz Ramirez, the trainer in charge of the racers. She greets McQueen with excitement, telling him how thrilled she is to finally work with him. Lightning McQueen begins training with Cruz Ramirez, whose methods are unusual and unconventional, even making him dance as part of the exercises. Naturally, McQueen grows frustrated with these strange drills, leaves her, and heads to try the simulator. Cruz advises him not to use it yet, as he first needs proper training, but he insists. McQueen powers up the simulator and speeds at full throttle, but soon loses control and crashes into the walls. One of his tires flies off, and the entire machine is destroyed. He goes to apologize to Sterling, but instead of getting angry, Sterling shows him all the merchandise bearing his image and tells him that he will no longer race, since his speed is below the required level. From now on, he will be just a brand, generating massive profits. McQueen refuses this offer and begs for another chance to compete. He proposes a deal. If he loses, he will accept being turned into a brand and have his image sold on products. But if he wins, he will continue racing until he decides to retire on his own terms. Sterling agrees, on the condition that Cruz accompanies him. The next day, McQueen starts training on the beach, asking Cruz to monitor his speed closely. He races with all his energy, but stops when he notices that Cruz struggles to move on the sand. He helps her and spends the entire day teaching her how to drive properly on the beach. After many attempts, Cruz manages to run fast, while McQueen's speed remains insufficient. McQueen then decides to train on a real track. At night, he disguises himself so no one recognizes him and sneaks into a track with Cruz. To their surprise, the place is not for racing, but for demolition derby. Soon, they are chased by massive cars trying to smash them. McQueen helps Cruz escape, and at a dangerous moment, when she is attacked by another car, he saves her at the last second. A giant school bus charges at McQueen, attempting to crush him, but he narrowly escapes, making the bus flip into the air. Together, they manage to leave the arena. In the end, Cruz is the only car still moving, so she wins the event. However, when she collides with another car, water splashes onto McQueen, revealing his true identity. The crowd sees who he really is and cheers loudly, while the news spreads quickly across television. Cruz is thrilled by her first-ever trophy, but McQueen scolds her, blaming her for distracting him and preventing his improvement. He accidentally drops the trophy, breaking it. Heartbroken, Cruz leaves the trailer in tears and confesses to McQueen that her childhood dream was to become a racer because of him. But her family crushed that dream, telling her it was impossible, even though she had been the fastest car in her town. She explains that she had waited her whole life for just one chance to prove herself, but it never came. So she ended up as a trainer. She then declares that she will return to the training center and leave him. Meanwhile, McQueen watches the news. Jackson Storm has set a new record at 210 miles per hour, giving him a 95% chance of winning the upcoming race. Chick Hicks mocks McQueen for his failure at the demolition derby, while the reporter insists it is impossible for him to win since his speed is far below Storm's. McQueen feels devastated and considers retirement. He speaks with his friend Matter about his fear of failure and inability to keep up with the new speed. He wishes Doc Hudson were still alive to help him. At that moment, Matter suggests that Doc's mentor, Smokey, might be able to help. Inspired by the idea, McQueen decides to seek him out. He returns to Cruz, gives her the repaired trophy, and apologizes for his behavior. He tells her they will both go to meet Smokey for training. With Mac, they travel to Doc's hometown and arrive at the old track where Doc used to train. McQueen starts racing, braking, and turning on the dirt, while Cruz imitates him. Suddenly, they stop as Smokey appears, welcoming them warmly. Smokey introduces them to the old racers, who greet them with excitement. He shares the story of Doc, how he was once the fastest car in the world until a younger, faster racer appeared. When Doc tried to overtake him, he hit the wall but soared into the air, passed him, and still won the race. McQueen is amazed by this story and begins to fear that his own career could end the same way if he loses. Smokey then takes him to a garage filled with pictures of Doc and McQueen during their training together. He tells McQueen that while Doc had been happy as a racer, he was even happier as his mentor. McQueen recalls those precious memories, realizing how much joy Doc had found in teaching him. Smokey begins training McQueen and Cruz on the old track, making them run among tractors to learn how to dodge opponents without crashing. Over time, they both improve greatly. At night, they practice racing in the forest without any lights, enjoying the challenge. Later, McQueen and Cruz decide to test themselves in a practice race. McQueen pushes himself hard and nearly overtakes her, but Cruz accelerates and ultimately wins. McQueen feels discouraged, realizing that this means he cannot defeat Storm. He thanks Smokey and the old racers for their efforts, then heads off toward the Piston Cup. At the stadium, the reporter announces that Storm is the fastest among all racers and is highly likely to win the race. On the other side, McQueen arrives at the track, thanking Matter and Sally for coming to support him. As the cars prepare for the start, McQueen puts on his headset. Then he hears Smokey's voice. "Doc would be proud of you. no matter the outcome. The race begins and the cars speed off at their maximum pace. Lightning McQueen races ahead, overtaking the competitors with great skill and speed, just as he had trained. He continues advancing, lap after lap, leaving the others behind. Meanwhile, Sterling goes to Cruz Ramirez and orders her to return to the training center to prepare new racers. When she asks to stay and watch the race, he refuses, reminding her that she's a trainer, not a racer. Cruz walks away, saddened. McQueen overhears what happened and recalls his conversation with Cruz, her disappointment about no longer being a racer as she once dreamed. He remembers her training sessions with him, her speed on the simulator, and even her braking on dirt tracks. Suddenly, several cars collide, making it difficult for the racers to pass. But McQueen reacts quickly, avoiding the crash with precision and overtaking the field. He then radios Cruz, urging her to return to the track immediately. When McQueen heads into the pit stop, he finds Cruz waiting. He asks the crew to put racing tires on her, telling her, "This is your chance to prove you're talented." They even paint his number 95 on her. Shocked and confused, Cruz doesn't understand what's happening until McQueen tells her this is his last chance, and he's giving it to her as her very first. Fired up, Cruz dashes back onto the track. The commentator explains that they can't stop her from racing because she carries the number 95, meaning she is officially continuing the race in McQueen's place. At first, Cruz feels overwhelmed by the massive track and the cheering crowd, her nerves taking over. But McQueen's voice comes through the headset, calming her down and reminding her of all their training. Encouraged, Cruz starts overtaking the other racers, imagining them as tractors just as McQueen once taught her. She keeps pushing forward, lap after lap, while McQueen continues guiding her. After a pit stop to change tires, she surges ahead again, skillfully climbing the ranks until she breaks into the top 10, then advances all the way to third place. At that moment, Jackson Storm slows down to taunt Cruz. Mocking her, he says, "You'll never win. You'll never even be a real racer." Discouraged by his words, Cruz begins to lose speed, and several racers pass her. But McQueen pushes her on. "Storm only said that because he's afraid of you. He knows you're fast enough to beat him." Inspired, Cruz regains her determination and accelerates again, overtaking the pack. Storm is stunned when he realizes Cruz has climbed all the way to second place, right behind him. She stays on his tail, taunting him by saying his speed is slow. McQueen encourages her. "This is the final lap. You have to win this." Storm tries to box her in to force her out, but Cruz makes a bold move. She leaps over him, just like McQueen used to do, and crosses the finish line first. The crowd erupts in shock and cheers for Cruz, who is overjoyed by her victory. McQueen beams with pride when he sees their picture together at the winner's podium, since he was still the one officially registered in the race. The president of Dinoco then approaches Cruz, offering her a spot as their newest racer. Days later, we see McQueen, now painted in Doc Hudson's classic color scheme, having stepped into the role of Cruz's mentor. He's proud of her and happy to have helped her achieve her dream. You've just watched the full story of Cars 3. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next movie recap. See you in the next video.